In Deadlocked, Sookie Stackhouse has a murder investigation on her hands, and it looks like her lover, Eric, might be involved. Deadlocked is the 12th in the Sookie Stackhouse series from its creator, Charlaine Harris. Charlaine, welcome to Booktopia.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to be here in Booktopia today.
Now, tell me a little bit about where you come from, where you were born and raised.
I was born in the Mississippi Delta, which is a very distinctive culture. The poorest county in the poorest state in the United States. Very conventional upbringing. My dad eventually was a school administrator. My mom eventually was a librarian, and my whole family have always been great readers. So I grew up in a reading culture.
And what were the books that you grew up really loving that made a kind of lasting impression on you? And were they stories that had a strong element of supernatural?
I just read everything I could get my hands on. I grew up with Nancy Drew, of course, the conventional Hardy Boys. Then I moved over to Edgar Rice Burroughs and the Mars books. I read Edgar Allan Poe. I read Jane Eyre. I read Jane Austen over and over. So a weird conglomeration of influences.
But the Gothic was creeping in there from an early age, and I'm just wondering where you grew up in that part of the States. Were you also, as a child, told stories by your grandmother that were ghost stories?
My grandmother would have rather bitten off her own foot than tell a ghost story. But certainly the atmosphere of creepiness was always close, and I loved to read ghost stories at a very early age. Now I love a good ghost story.
When you say the atmosphere of creepiness was always close, what do you mean?
Well, Delta is the home of the blues, the home of Robert Lee Johnson, the home of Making a Bargain with the Devil at the Crossroads. And it is an area rich in superstition, though I find that's certainly not unique. Every area of America, and I'm beginning to believe every area of the world, has its own superstitious tradition.
I read that you were a weightlifter and that you have been a student of karate. Am I right?
I know. You wouldn't think it to look at me, but obviously this was in an earlier stage in my life. And I did study Goju karate for 6 years and was, quite the weightlifter.
So what was that for? Was that just because you enjoyed athletic strength and bodybuilding? I mean, what was that about?
It was about doing something completely different. At the time, I was raising small children, and I just wanted to do something that was so not related to being a mother, and weightlifting was definitely in that field. I was terrible at it, so really it was for my own pleasure, but it also cemented something wonderful inside of me that I thought, I know I could handle myself if something terrible happened, and the world is so full of terrible things. I think we all need every drop of confidence we can get.
So can you just talk about that in relation to Sookie as a character and her sense of her own ability then to look after herself?
Sookie believes that in always doing the right thing. I've written other characters who don't always believe that. My character Lily Bard really came from the bodybuilding culture, but Sookie is a different animal altogether. She believes if you consistently try to do the right thing, that the outcome will be good if you persevere.
And is that a belief that you share with Sookie?
Not necessarily, no. But I wish I did.
And I'm just wondering where you think vampire culture gets its purchase on the kind of teenage mind. What is going on that makes that such a powerful link for adolescents?
Well, that's a more recent development. When I started writing the Sookie books, there wasn't a teen boom in vampires. There was an adult boom in vampires, possibly more of it skewed young, but not teen. The young teen devotion to vampires, I think, started pretty much with Twilight, because it was aimed at younger viewers and had a message that younger viewers would find right up their alley. And I think then people grow up and they read other vampire things.
If you were Sookie's mum, what would your thoughts be about her as you were bringing up this woman, this young woman with these supernatural powers, for example, this telepathy gift?
I think it would be terrible to know what people were really thinking about you. I'm a great believer in the white lie. I think if I were her mother, I would be beside myself with worry, and I would try to work really hard to instill some core values in her to carry her through the inevitable terrible times.
Where's she at in Deadlocked? This is the 12th book in the series that we're talking about now, and I know that there's only one left.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about Sookie's state of mind when Deadlock opens?
Things are not going well between her and Eric. Forces beyond their control have conspired to put a huge roadblock in their way, and Sookie is wondering what she really does want in terms of her own life.
Now, one of the things that you say in this book is that in a relationship with a vampire, one of the big pluses of a relationship with a vampire is the sex is always good. Why is that?
Well, the hope is that with all those years and centuries to experiment, they've gotten it right. That's the hope. And with, I think, some of the vampires in my books, yes, definitely, I would like that to be at least something a woman could look forward to.
They might, on the other hand, if they're a vampire from the Civil War, have some incredibly antiquated notions about sex. They might have some really prudish, old-fashioned values.
That could be, but I think the ability to be a successful vampire is the ability to change with the times and adapt and fit in.
Now, as well as obviously vampires, we're dealing with the world of demons and all sorts of other fantastical creatures, including fairies, the Fae. I think we should probably call them, you call them collectively. Would you like to explain what the Cluvial Door is?
The Cluvial Door is a magical love object. It looks a lot like the compact I have in my purse. It's like an Estee Lauder compact. It's a creamy green object about yay big with a gold band around it, and you can't open it until you use the magic inside. It's a love object. It's a wonderful gift from a fae to his or her lover. They're not made anymore. They've lost the magic to make them. But it gives the recipient a wish. Not like a genie wish, but a wish that will benefit the person you love in whatever way. Not the love, that is. I mean, it could be, you know, sexual love, it could be friendship love, it could be family love. But that's what the Cluvial Door is.
Until I started reading your books, Charlaine, I had never come across the term fang banger.
I made it up.
Right. Would you like to tell us what a fang banger is?
A fang banger is a vampire groupie, essentially.
Right.
Someone who loves the culture of vampirism as they see it. Someone who loves being bitten, too.
What do you think, Charlaine, about the way people have chosen to interpret the Sookie books as being really about, I suppose, minority communities like the gay community, and seeing some parallel between vampires and the gay community, or imagining that there is an issue of race, which is the sort of subtext of the books? How do you see all of those interpretations?
I think they got it exactly like I wrote it. That was my intention.
Can you just say a little bit more about that then?
Well, I'm not that much of a crusader or a political activist, but I do have a point of view. And it did seem to me that people of alternate sexualities were getting a pretty raw deal in so many ways. And I thought, you know, isn't that interesting? You know, vampires are kind of like that. Vampires are such a flexible symbol. When I was thinking about, I thought, what if vampires came out of the coffin? And I thought, oh, you know, I'm kind of seeing this. I'm kind of feeling this. I did develop the idea. And if people get that and they want to read something into it, which I kind of hope they do, that's great. If they want to read it for the adventure, that's fine.
Thank you very much, Charlaine Harris.
Oh, you're so welcome.
For those who can't get enough of the vampire genre, Deadlocked is welcome fresh blood. I can't think of anyone else who can pull off this combination of sex, male strippers and fairies the way Charlaine Harris does.